5 straight neutral sequences is better because Falco has better tools.
So I think that on the right here, this Falcon, I think this is God's Only Son. It is indeed. So got to see God's Only Son perform a bit at Smash Camp Newlands and had a really nice bracket. This is, you know, an Oregon player, I believe PR'd like top 5, I think, in Oregon, and a very solid Falcon. And we're going up against Fizzwiggle, who didn't recognize off the bat, but you probably are aware Fizzwiggle for beating Mango at
Genesis?
Genesis
2022.
Yeah, and so Fizzwiggle definitely no joke here. This should be, I think, a pretty solid matchup here. Fizzwiggle, I believe, is a Colorado player, PR'd in Colorado as well. So a battle here of some of these West Coast states that you might not get a chance to see unless you're at an event like this, important.
There's the kind of like an infamous Mango story about Fizzwiggle, where like after losing to Fizzwiggle, one of like Fizzwiggle's friends was like, yeah man, like he's like such a nice guy, like I'm really glad like you lost to him, like he's such a nice guy, like you know, like he does this and he was like, what am I supposed to say? You know, like yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad he beat me.
There's something about Melee, man. People just forget how to interact with people, but you know.
People say the most like out-of-pocket stuff you will ever hear. Like it just, I know like it's a bit of cliche to make fun of Melee players' social skills, but sometimes it's like, yo, I think the guy was like drunk, so you know he gets a bit more excuse of like maybe not really thinking through the emotional repercussions of saying like, I'm so glad that you had this huge upset.
People just have real one-sided thoughts, you know, where it's just thinking about their friend or whatever it is. So.
Yeah.
Point being, though, we're here to watch some Melee, and this has been a bit of a slugfest. They've been going back and forth, you know?
Absolutely.
Ooh, just misses the soft knee there. One of my favorite little things in Melee.
This is one of those matchups that for a really long time people viewed as very, very, very Sheik favored. And I still believe that it is Sheik favored, but like over time, Falcon's got a lot better at punishing Sheik. They developed more counterplay along the tech chasing kind of stuff. So, you know, SDI on the jab reset is a really big part of that, for example. But at the end of the day, it's stuff like this that does make it really, really challenging for the Falcon player.
Good job, though, by God's Only Son to just say, you know what, I'm going to the corner. You know, good job. You can tech chase me. I'm out, right? He let him kind of do one tech and place read, and then said, no, I'm good. I'm going to go to the ledge.
Absolutely. And, you know, Falcon has some of his own tech chase options. I know, like, probably the most kind of famous example of a Sheik player that really dislikes this matchup is Legendus.
Yeah.
Just kind of constantly complains about Falcon. And, like, you know, there's some truth to that kind of Sheik Falcon propaganda that like it is like Falcon can combo Sheik really aggressively as a Sheik player yourself.
It's so funny calling it propaganda too. I know what you mean.
I mean, it is propaganda. There's
so funny.
Like right now we're two paid propagandists on comment. Like I'm literally talking about like the Falcon, the spacey fallacy. You know, like
yeah, the radar manifesto.
It's exactly like we're learning the way. I mean,
this is the way.
There's a whole category of like how good are you at making your character seem like the victim?
Yeah.
You know, like really all along we've been saying it's Sheik favored, but actually, you know, Falcon is he's the real winner. Like that's Legendus has been trying to do that for a long time.
A lot of patience there from Fizzwiggle just to hold on to the ledge there. It looked like God's Only Son would have the chance to recover on stage. Just at the last second, faded back. Fizzwiggle unfazed. Stone phase.
Really good tech chases so far. I love the DI on that up air. God's Only Son basically with the only DI to make that not like reactively covered.
Yeah.
Really good stuff there.
Oh, the slide off.
God.
Unfortunately, just missed another air dodge to keep it going, but was swaggy there from Fizzwiggle.
That was really clean. Really beautiful ledge dash kind of run up there as well. But, you know, gonna get the nair. Kind of wondered if we would see like a really aggressive up B, but if it didn't pan out, like, you know, not worth it. So not something I would recommend from God's Only Son, but, you know. Okay, get the tech chase again. Beautiful slide off once more. Not expecting the tech, and God's Only Son's back in neutral and gonna get tech chase, you know, in his own situation.
Fizzwiggle going for a bit of a read, yeah. I will say Fizzwiggle has some really nice run-up tilts. Such a nice little tool that
Not
I feel
easy
like
to
is,
do
I was going to
either.
say, is really challenging. A lot of people will run up and try to forward tilt, but it's actually like kind of easier for Falcon to get around. But the up tilt just really catches them in the air.
No, Fizzwiggle moving, man. I feel like sometimes when you see, say, a player like Fizzwiggle that kind of become infamous for this like one win off of Mango, you kind of maybe don't have, like, you're not familiar with the other aspects of his play.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been seeing some fun combos.
Yeah.
Like, really, really nice movement, really beautiful ledge game there once again.
I feel like it's also worth mentioning that sometimes getting those wins where even if it is a top player playing not their best, you know, they're having a bad tournament, whatever it might be, right, whatever jam that they want to use, the fact that you did that gives you that motivation to push yourself further, right? So it's like, who knows, you know, how much Fizzwiggle's playstyle has changed from having the confidence to be like, I know that I can do this, right? It's kind of like what we've seen with Amsa.
This is going to be the stock, yeah.
God's only son. That was a great little combo there.
A 0 to death to turn around. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right about this, like, kind of the psychological power of I can do this is so powerful.
It's a mental block that gets removed, right? It's something that I think people talked about with Amsa, of like once he won Big House, now he can just win any tournament, right? He knows that he can do it. And it's the same idea, I think, of like beating your first like real massive upset to be like, okay, well, I know I can win any set now, right?
And you see this in many different kind of competitive, like in different competition. One really good example that comes to mind is I remember Tony Hawk was talking about doing, I believe it's like the 720, like where you're doing
900.
The 900, where you're doing the kind of the full 3 spins, right? Or is it 2.5?
I think it's 2.5 for a 900. Yep,
Yeah, 2.5 for a 900. So at the time, no one had done that, and so whenever you're going to do something that like literally no one has done, you have this barrier in your head of like, can a person even do this?
Be done?
Like, is this even possible? Like, am I trying to do something that just like physically can't be done? And now the 900, like many skateboarders have done it.
Yeah.
And of course, you can even tell by me describing this. I'm not that familiar with skateboarding, but I remember him saying like, if I had known at the time that like if everyone else had done it, it would have been so much easier because like I didn't have to worry about like, is this possible?
Am I going to die doing this?
Yeah, exactly. and is this pointless? Am I going for something that just like, you know, cannot be done? And you see this with speedrunning a lot too, where some trick will be described as task only, and then all of a sudden, one person starts doing it in the runs, and then people are like, okay, well, if they can do it, like I'll do it too. And same applies with Melee. If you start beating people who are really, really good, suddenly you can start beating a lot of other good people because, you know, anything is possible now.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning too, what you're talking about is very valid. We're also talking about it in the sense of more like the mental part of the game, right? Like less so like, do I have the ability to like hit this combo, and more so, do I have the ability to lock it in, to say, you know, I'm playing at my best for the next stock, right? And sometimes for some people, that's all you need. You just need to be able to say, you know what, one stock at a time, I'm going to play my best. I'm going to do what I know I can do.
No, absolutely. Like, it reminds me, I was on the reads once, not as a person, but as like someone playing people. One day, maybe. You know? And so I was playing, I believe it was Magi and KJH, and I remember thinking like KJH was pretty good, but Magi was bad. In my head, I was like, this person like is not that bad. I can not very good. Like I can definitely beat them. I ended up losing like in a one stock game, and then I later learned it was Magi. And I know if Magi was in front of me, I would have been like,
super
this
nervous.
is impossible.
Absolutely.
This is impossible. Like there's no way. So it just kind of shows you like how important it is. Now, of course, that was one game. That's not to say that like I think even in those conditions I could have beat Magi.
Someone messing around it online or whatever is totally different than a full-fledged opinion. Understood.
But like this feeling of like this person's not that good. Like I could take him.
The mental block being removed,
much.
right? Of just being
so
like, I'm just
big.
playing some Falcon.
It's just some random person.
Some person.
Like, yeah.
Ooh, that was so smooth there. God's only son here. Trying to find it after that game 1 win. Fizzwiggle really dominated on Yoshi's story.
You know, the flip side of what we've been saying with this kind of mental block, wow, kind of a little bit of SCI to the right on the down smash to try to get to the ledge. The flip side of the mental block is, man, is there more pressure now? I beat this really good player. People kind of expect me to win, even though, like, you know, my opponent or whoever I'm facing is really, really good too. Like, that can be kind of really tricky for other people. So
absolutely.
There's kind of two sides to it. Oh, This is big, big open up.
This could just have been the game, but God's Only Son just kind of choosing to instead play it safe. To say, you know what, I don't want to do anything crazy. You know, I am Falcon. I could just get hit with 1 needles and almost die. Looks like it's not even almost. It will be a stock here as long as Fizzwiggle can just hold the edge.
No!
But Fizzwiggle decides to get a little
like,
bit.
yeah, gets a freebie there. Oh my God,
This is more than just a freebie at this point. This is a whole nother lease on life here for God's Only Son. This is a born again.
This is one of those situations, and like it's kind of awkward because like the players are like about 10 feet from us.
Hey, you
but
know,
like,
they've got their earmuffs in effectively. You know, they're in the game.
Like you kind of can't drop those, right? You know,
Yeah.
Like, if Fizzwiggle ends up not taking this, it's because of situations like that where like, oh,
I mean, we're saying this in the moment, but God's Only Son able to thankfully get the hug. Now this is a really scary game. That's a raw knee that'll probably do it. Fizzwiggle relying on Zelda here, but God's Only Son able to clean it up. Gives the fist bump, showing out for his Oregon homies here. I mean, look, God's Only Son PR here in Oregon. Would have been a little, I think, disappointed to not be able to close that out after having the lead, taking the first game. But we've got some big chance here for God's Only Son from the Oregon homies as one of their own continues to move on.
It's always like the home field advantage in sports as well as in Melee is very real.
Yeah.
You know, like it's being able to just go like, yeah, I just, you know, took the bus to get to the venue.
Yeah.
Like I woke up, I don't
Went to my favorite coffee spot. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Got a nice little breakfast sando from